Sean Tell here in collaboration with my man Brendan Taylor, True School Sports, here with the IBF Featherweight Champion of the World, Angelo Leo. Was expected to be coming off of a featherweight title defense in Atlanta over the weekend, but his opponent, Ra'eese Aleem, blew weight by 2.8 pounds. They bring him back for a second weigh-in, and he blows weight by 2 pounds, comes in 128, and the fight is foregone. It was not to be. Brendan over here was helping Angelo get ready in camp, even sparring
Yep.
some rounds with the boys up there in New Mexico and in Vegas. But Angelo, man, how what's your thoughts, man? So you've had like 72 hours or so to reflect on it. How are you feeling? How disappointed, or what's just the general feeling right now with the title defense not going through?
Yeah, so it's like I guess you could say bittersweet, just not being able to fight. And, but, at the end of the day, I still got paid and stuff like that. So I'm in the process of that right now. But it's a bittersweet feeling, doing all that hard work, training up in the mountains, having a 10-week camp and not being able to showcase, what I worked so hard for. A little disappointed, a little bit of little bummed out that it had to go that way, had to go this way, but it's part of the game, I charge it to the game.
Did you have any talks with Ra'eese Aleem once it happened? Like, what did you first think when he didn't make weight, and what was the deliberation like about? Am I still going to go through with this fight, even with him missing weight, or am I not? And did you ever talk to him about that?
No, I didn't talk to Ra'eese at all. It was basically me and my team's decision to call the fight off. Uh, but we kind of knew something was up when he wasn't at the weigh-in, on time.
Yeah.
We knew that he was probably losing weight and stuff like that, and yeah, he we stayed till he came to the scale, and he came in 2.8 pounds over, and they gave him I think an hour or two to lose the weight, and he only lost point 0.8, and so me and my team decided, what, we've been here before with the Alameda fight where he came in 2 pounds over, and we see what 2 pounds can do to a fight, and it could really make a difference. So um, we decided, there's weight classes for a reason. He didn't fulfill his obligations, and the fight was off.
Just this one, and then I'll let Brendan get started too. What do you
Yep.
say to the boxing world and the fans that okay, Oscar Duarte the week before, I think Fierro misses weight by 3 pounds. He goes through with the fight. He gets hurt a few times, but he wins the fight. Just what do you say to fans who are questioning, well, why didn't you still go through with the fight anyways? And I know we've had bad scenarios, Corrales
Yeah.
Castillo too, Devin
Uh,
Haney against Ryan Garcia, but also cases where the fighter goes through with the fight and they win anyways. So what do you say to the boxing world about that?
it's just up to the fighter's discretion. With a fight like this, I don't think it was worth the squeeze to go
Hmm.
to go through with it. And I did my part. I did my part. I don't have to do any explanation of uh, why it had to go down that way. But I did my part. That's at the end of the day, I did.
No, go ahead, BT. You got one.
Yeah, I mean, as you alluded to earlier, Sean, I was there in camp with Angelo. I was there for fight week. And I was there when the deliberation was happening, when we made the decision. And yeah, I think I would just echo what Angelo said. It wasn't worth the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It's not like Ra'eese Aleem was some sort of big name or win that was going to catapult his career. Um, and just there was a lot of promote games being played this promotion, venues being moved, purse bid wasn't particularly high, and then even the hotel. I actually had a chance to see Ra'eese Aleem 2 times before I left the hotel. Once the night of the after the card ended, I talked to him for about 3 minutes, and then I talked to him for like probably 30 minutes the next day. And he was obviously not feeling happy about what happened. But part of me does feel like, from talking to him, part of me does feel like, he was maybe kind of banking on what normally happens in boxing, which is a guy comes in overweight, maybe he had a bad weight cut, and they work a deal out and make the fight anyway. And it's been really annoying because people, ask, well, why didn't you just fight Ra'eese Aleem? Because boxing's gotten to a place where people aren't professionals. Unprofessionalism has become a standard at the world championship level, and at the world championship level, I feel like it demands the highest level of professionalism. So, yeah, it's really disappointing, but I do believe that God has a plan, and I do think that there's going to be better fights on the horizon.
Angelo, how much, if you, it's up to you obviously to disclose, how much of your purse are you still taking home that you were originally going to get if the fight went through?
I think, from my knowledge, I think you take home the full amount,
Oh,
which is I think mandated by the IBF. That's one of their rules is to take home the full amount.
yeah, no, okay, so that makes the decision a lot easier for you.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause if I'm not getting paid, that's still, I'd have to talk to my team about that if we want to still through with it. But yeah, IBF something in the rule book says, yeah, you get paid the full amount.
It was told that the IBF, there's a rule in the IBF that states that in a scenario like this, the champion can take home 100% of the purse. That's
And was that something you two had to really know and be on your P's and Q's, or else you could have got out of there with no purse or half the purse, or like did you guys have to bring that up if you weren't sharp enough to know the IBF rule book? Yeah.
No, it's I think so. What happened is he came in overweight, and then right away my team and I decided, let's, the fight's called off. And then after, we got to back to the hotel room, they told us our options. We got on the phone with my lawyer, and my lawyer, he did his due diligence and found out that the IBF, will pay the full amount. So we went ahead and went that route.
Well, you consider Ra'eese was a long time 122 pounder, right? He hasn't been a featherweight that long, about as long as you've been a featherweight, I think. And you guys sparred a lot of rounds as 122
Yeah.
pounders. Were you guys surprised that this guy wasn't able to make weight when again he was a 122 pounder for a majority of his career?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I don't know what his mindset was at the time. I considered all that too, what you just said that, he's coming off of 122. This is a world title fight. He made 126 back in November when he fought what's his name, Nakano,
Makito
and
Nakano. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Nakano, and I didn't think weight would ever be an issue in this fight, but I guess I don't know what he was going through it or what happened, but yeah, I just don't know what was his mindset at the time.
Go ahead, BC. Let's hear
Um,
you.
I was shocked about him missing weight until the morning of the fight because obviously Angelo's gonna stay in the hotel room, so he's not roaming around the hotel. But I'm roaming around the hotel. I'm talking to people and that were there and stuff. And I had seen Ra'eese Aleem on a couple occasions, going in and out of the hotel gym. Then what was crazy, Sean, is the hotel. There were a lot of problems. There were a lot of bad omens. I know me and Sean, when we go to these fight, we talk about bad omens. There was a lot of bad omens while we were there in Atlanta. Um, there was one night where the water didn't work, so like people couldn't shower in the hotel. The elevators weren't working through many points during the week. And there was actually a time where the elevators didn't work and I had to go up a certain flight of stairs. And it just so happened at that time that Ra'eese Aleem and his team were right behind me going up the same flight of stairs. So I seen him the day of the weigh-in and he had his hoodie on real low and he just didn't want to be seen. And it just, I didn't have a good feeling about it the day of. But before that point, I would have said I would have been surprised because Ra'eese Aleem has been a professional his whole entire career until this moment. So it's heartbreaking.
Any message you have to Ra'eese Aleem now that this fight looks like it'll probably never happen. It'll come and go without with what happened. What any message to him and his team?
Mm, not really, not really. I don't have really much to say. There's no need to cry over spilled milk. It happened. It's unfortunate it had to go that way, Well, what can I say? What can I tell him? That he probably hasn't already heard. Um, yeah, there's nothing really to say. I go on with my career, and what's going on? And he goes on with his career.
Well, speaking of going on with your career, man, how much is this? We know activity, it does matter, especially fighting at the top level
Yeah.
against other champions. Is this a setback in that regard? Like, and do you need now a mandatory kind of title defense, an optional defense before you go? And I know the IBF is very strict with that. So,
Yeah.
in how soon a order do you have to defend the IBF title? And how do you feel like you could go right into a unification next, or because you only got one fight in 2025, this fight got canceled? You're gonna need a fight for activity's sake before fighting an Espinoza, a Carrington, a Figueroa.
Um, you know, it's a good question. But me as a fighter, I'll fight anybody at any time. You could put a unification bout right now, and I'll take it. But strategically wise, I would say, you know, I've fought my two mandatories. Well, technically, I honored my two mandatories already in Tomoki Kameda and Ra'eese Aleem. Um, so we could possibly do a voluntary next. Um, I would like something in my hometown, Albuquerque, or here in Vegas. I think I deserve it. To be honest, I think I deserve a fight in my hometown or somewhere where you know I got the option. I got the options. I got a fan base out here in Vegas as well. Um, but if unification, it makes sense and all that, we could get that popping too.
Next.
Yeah.
So, well, okay, so this technically, because I know you work with a few companies. You work with Pro Box and Gary Jonas. You work with Top Rank. This fight was won by Salida. Did this satisfy in any of those contracts? And I don't know how many more fights you have on each of them. Did this technically satisfy one of those requirements as well? And are you saying the same thing for the IBF where extends again? Yeah, just kind of walk me through that.
That one. My concern, as far as I know, I take this fight as a W. I take it as a W. It's a win. And I think the IBF does it well.
Gotcha. Well, I hear that that Espinoza Figueroa unification that was maybe being penciled in September, possibly on that Canelo Mobili card, Mexico versus the world, or I don't know if that's still what they're going to promote it as, but basically on that card, that fight was in play, and
Mhm.
then apparently, it fell through, or it's up in the air.
Yeah.
You get a good offer for the Espinoza fight. You jumping on that for September?
Yeah, possibly. Possibly, if it makes sense. I'll talk to my team about it. But yeah, possibly.
BT, what do you think of that fight? I know you have strong convictions about Angelo's chances against all the other champions.
Especially that one. I love that fight. I love that fight.
That's the boogeyman.
So they say. But
Well, thanks.
Angelo's the respectful one. I'm gonna talk a little bit. Like he's the boogeyman that seems to get into these negotiations with fighters, and some for some reason he finds a way to not get these deals done. He was supposed to fight Brandon Figueroa. They didn't get the deal done. He was supposed to fight Venado Lopez after Angelo knocked him out last year. I think it was October, whenever he fought K Guy. And I know Venado Lopez was very bullish on taking that fight. Venado Lopez has been very bullish about fighting anybody. And Espinosa is one another direction. Bruce is one another direction. So even though he's looked at to be damaged goods, other guys are still going other directions. So I mean, I like the fight. Espinosa, he's strong. He has a lot of heart. He's gonna make a great fight, but I just think that I don't think durability is his best thing. I don't think durability is a strong point. And I also think even though he's a big guy, I just think that there's a lot of things he hasn't quite tightened up on, and I don't know if he's not going to be able to tighten up on it in one camp.
So Angelo, if it's up to you, do you what is ultimately next then? Is it the voluntary defense to stay busy, or is it right into the unification fight with any of the other guys?
I think strategically wise, I think a voluntary would probably be the best option. Um, and then you maybe a unification next. But I know the fans are, they're clamoring for us to unify an undisputed featherweight world champion, and I just want to assure them that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. These fights are going to be made. You know, we're going to fight Espinosa. We're going to fight Shu Sho. We're going to fight Figueroa. Um, they're all going to happen, in due time. But for now, you know, patience is a virtue.
I wanna say something about Espinoza. There's been this narrative on Twitter, and I've been getting the brunt of it from people. They've been saying like that Angelo Leo is ducking Rafael Espinoza because Zamford Promotions will put out certain things to certain reporters, and then people believe it to be the truth. But as you know, Sean, I spent a lot of time around Angelo Leo and Miguel Leo, so I'm very clued in on what's going on, and I know if there was negotiations, they never advanced past the point of either one of them getting a formal contract. So you can't duck a fight if you don't receive a draft contract that's actually presented to the fighter and trainer.
Like a few weeks before we were in camp, about I woke up to the news of me versus Espinosa, and Chava from ESPN was reposting it and stuff like that. So
Yep.
it was. I had no idea. I just woke up to that news, and I don't know where they got that from or what. But they had said they were in negotiations with my team, and had never heard nothing from anyone.
I can't I understand the fans' impatience though because I can't remember the last unification at 126. You see things on Twitter, I'd have to double check. I should
I think
have,
it
but
was like back
Marquez and
Marquez and Derek Gainer.
Derek Gainer, Derek Smoke Gainer.
2003. Was it early 2000s?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro, that's 23 years ago. I don't know what it is about this division
I don't
and
know.
hold
I
up
don't
for
know.
unifications, you know?
Right.
And then also like I think the onus is on you guys, the four champions, to do it now more than ever. Because in a way, his father came out today, even talk about retirement, and if not retirement, they're pumping the brakes on moving to 126. So understandably, all you guys wanted a shot at the pound for pound one or two best fighter in the world, a guy who commands a ton of money. But now, if he's not coming up, I think that makes, the onus on the champions to unify now more than ever. What do you think of that, Angelo?
I think it's good for boxing. I think it's good uh for the featherweight division as well. Do would we like the fight within a way? Of course. He's a pound for pound, probably arguably number one.
Hmm.
So why wouldn't we want a fight within a way? Um, but if you were to choose a fighter to fight at featherweight, I would think that he would want a unified champion or someone that's the top dog.
Yeah, I spoke to a Japanese writer. I won't disclose who, but he explained to me that maybe now featherweight would just be a finale fight for him, like maybe the last fight of his career. And like you said, in that case, he'd probably want it to be for one of the champions to make themselves the man of the division, to make it worth his while and the risk and everything. So yeah, just thoughts on that too, Angelo.
It makes sense. It makes sense. If I was in this position, I would fight. I want to fight the top dog in that division as well.
What do you think of Bruce Carrington, man? He fights 4th of July weekend on the Abdullah Mason card. You said keep my belt warm. Obviously, he feels confident you wouldn't be able to take the WBC title off of him. When do you think that fight's gonna get done? And if you had to say which one is more likely, fighting a Divino Espinoza in a unification or fighting Shu Shu Carrington?
I think they're both pretty feasible. You know, they're both signed with Top Rank. Um, I'm co-promoted by Top Rank, so I think either Espinosa or Shushu is a easy fight to make, to be honest. And it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
Which is the more difficult fight, Brendan?
which is the more difficult one.
Yes. Who's the stiffer challenge? Stylistically, what they bring to the ring.
Between both of them, I guess because of the size and the bone density, I would say Rafa. But honestly, if I'm being honest, I really love both those fights. I remember one day in camp, there was a particular day where the great matchmaker Brad Gilman came to the gym and he
Hmm.
asked the same question, and I told him my answer to him was, when you have the best featherweight in the world, I think you like your chances against anybody. So whichever one can come first, that'd be great.
Yeah, Angelo, not only does Brendan have a channel, closing in on 100,000 subscribers, but he's also the number one Angelo Leo advocate in the world.
Yeah.
And I believe you and your pops have assigned him some duties in camp as the tape study guy, let alone him sparring some of the guys you bring up in camp, like Eric Lanzas and a few others, man. How does that go about? Because this is a unique relationship in boxing for a media guy who's been doing it for a decade or more, um,
Yeah.
going to fights, covering fights, but now also legitimately in the camp of a fighter.
Yeah,
I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing. BT, he's putting in the work as a boxing reporter, but he's also is a big part of my camp as well as far as media solutions, as we like to call it. Um, and he does his job great. What can I say? It's Mr. Untouchable right there.
What,
there
what
you
was the title again?
Media
go.
solution.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm the head of media
head
solutions.
of media solutions.
Solutions. Yeah. Well, I mean, watching tape is media as well. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
got to find solutions to the other opponent sometimes
no,
alongside Miguel.
it's a lot, Sean. I've vented to you about having to watch Venado Lopez versus Joel Gonzalez, and this camp that it was Ra'eese Aleem versus Makita Nakano and Rudy Garcia. I wanted to blow my brains out because I was memorizing
Yes.
the quotes from Mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, Angelo, you were a big underdog in that fight with Venado, and then it's like the knockout of the year.
Yeah.
Venado was the number one featherweight, and I love Brandon, and he's continuing to convince me full throttle, like he's going to the hospital, he's going to the hospital, and I'm thinking, Angelo has a real shot at winning this fight, but BT's he's got his guys back. He's doing what he's
Yeah.
supposed to do, being friends with you and being in camp with you. But he was so confident, and I was like, man, Angelo's carrying another spirit to the ring in this fight. Like Bernardo Lopez is about to get jumped, and you see Brendan with a psychotic look at Venado on Venado's way to the ring,
Mhm.
which was crazy. But I mean, he literally he told me heading into the fight, I'm sick of this fucking guy. I know everything he does. I know what he does going backwards. I know what he does going here. I know what he does when you put
Yeah.
pressure on him. I know I've watched him at point 25 speed, point 5 speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that, I
that's
mean,
crazy, man.
that camp right there was unforgettable. It was everyone. It was probably one of the first camps I held outside of Vegas. Um, so everything was new to us. It was, and all I knew was I was gonna become world champion, and then and then BT, knew that I was gonna become world champion, and his conviction is. I see how passionate he is, and it drives me. It motivates me to see how how strong, how much conviction he's got from me, and how much he believes in me. It's you don't see that often.
I want to chime in.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say like, well, because a lot of people will start talking crazy to me when I say, Angelo, I believe Angelo can beat now in a way, or Espinoza or Shu Shu, and they'll say, oh, well, you're just being biased because that's your friend. And I want to let everybody know that from like the 122 to 130 weight class, Angelo is not my only friend in boxing. I got other friends that are at 122, 126, 130, and I'm not hyping him up because he's my friend. I'm hyping him up, and I don't even want to call it hyping up. I had this conviction because since I've been knowing Angelo since just before I would say the Tremaine Williams fight, but really we got close around the Aaron Alameda fight, and I saw what he was then, and I've seen what he is now. I've seen the growth. I know he's the only fighter I've met that I feel is I haven't met a fighter yet, and I've been all around the world. who I feel is more obsessed about boxing than Angelo Leo. From watching fights, studying tape, going over things with his dad, who's also a great trainer. He's the most obsessed fighter I know in the entire sport of boxing, and that's why I think that's where he's at. And I'm not trying to like pump him up to the highest degree or glaze, as they say, but sometimes when Angelo's really dialed in, I take a deep breath. I'm like, damn, this must be what it's like to be around like like a Kobe Bryant or like a Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, no, I remember Angelo getting ready for Tremaine Williams. I can't remember who the original opponent was. It was Fulton, right? Was Fulton originally supposed to be the first time around for the WBO, or was it at another fighter?
It was Fulton.
It
It
was
was
Fulton.
Fulton, right? And it was a special aura about the kid then. I will call him a kid back then. Like it's like, oh man, this kid has that eye of the tiger, that shine a fighter has when like the freaking Rocky 4 music, Heart's on Fire. Like you could tell his heart was on fire for that fight. And you helped him summon that back up for Venado after a rebuild, because I know Brendan, you got close with Angelo really during his rebuild phase after a couple fights after the Fulton fight, where he's not with Mayweather Promotions anymore. And yeah, so now he's all the way back. And how do you guys, because I've seen you summon it a couple of times in your career, and not to say you're not, and we've talked about this before, Angelo, you've been good throughout your career, but there's been a couple assignments where you really come um at a higher level than the other ones, man. And you guys feel like you'll be able to summon that again? Was that the form of Angelo we were gonna get in this fight? Like what was gonna happen to
Oh,
Ra'eese Aleem, you think?
This fight, you're gonna see the best of Angelo Leo. To be honest, everything was on point. The T, the T's were crossed, the I's were dotted for this fight, and I trained extremely hard for this fight, and I'm just only getting better as the years progress. Um, as you can see, I'm a lot different than when I was in 2021, and I'll be a lot different than I am in 2023. So I think you guys are yet to see the best of me.
we had a conversation one night during camp, me and Angelo. I remember I asked him one night. I'm gonna say it was like a week before the camp concluded. We were driving back to the camp house, and I said, Angelo, like, how do you feel about camp so far? And the conclusion we came to was that like that camp, it felt like now we're here. Like it doesn't feel like because the Bonado camp, it felt maybe like a massive stage. There was a lot of moving parts, but this one just kind of felt like another day in the office. Like we're right where we're supposed to be. And I feel like that in general. I feel like right now, Angelo and the entire team, and Miguel Leo and Johnny, who's a big part of the team as well with the film study, we're all right where we're supposed to be. Like it feels like the best is yet to come, and it really felt like with the Aleem fight that you were gonna get the Venado, the Tremaine Williams, the Cesar Rocky Juarez or Cesar Juarez, Angelo.
It was one thing I was questioning about Big Papa Miguel Leo. I was like, they're driving to Atlanta? Because fighters always fly. And I was like, is Angelo going to be exhausted? Is he
No,
going to have, from the road trip? Like,
Angelo flew.
Yeah,
okay,
I
all right.
I, I flew, but my dad and my other team members they drove.
Okay, so he BT had to go along for the road trip and
Oh,
kick
it
it.
was great. When,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
to Oklahoma, went to a bunch of different states. It was interesting. Definitely an experience.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a lot of fucking driving for what would you drive like 40, 50 hours in like a
It, oh,
4 day, 3 day trip? Like,
so the total trip, if you do it straight, is like 27 hours. But we drove to Vegas, rested in New Mexico because they got family out there.
yeah.
Then Mexico and went all the way to Atlanta, Albuquerque to Atlanta, from the A to the A.
Okay, got you. Yeah, because I was like, man, if Angelo's in the road trip, he's gonna be tired. He's gonna,
Imagine that. That'd be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Sick, man. Good times, man. Well, again, just to close out, it's a shame you couldn't get the title defense. I do think, fans, like you said patience is a virtue, but I think they are getting impatient about featherweight unification, especially with Inoue saying, hey, or not him, but his team saying we don't know about featherweight as soon as we originally planned. But at the same time, I understand, Angelo, you're in a spot where you need a fight like that, a mandatory defense to keep everything sharpened. for the highest level of the division. So, but hey, you did also say earlier in the interview, if it makes sense, and I know that's code for they put a lot of money in front, they make it, then
Yeah.
yeah, the unification could be next, but yeah, it sounds like unless it's a lucrative offer and to Brendan's point too, you've yet to actually have a contract come across your table for a unification bout
Right.
from a top rank from a DAZN.
Right.
So that leaves a lot of things up in the air, man. So let's close on that. Where just to close again, where do you see all that going? So, once and for all,
Yeah.
unification could be done this year. It could be next, but
Right.
that's kind of the outline of where you're headed, where your head's at after this Aleem fallout.
Yeah, man. I think that those unifications will happen either late 2026 or early 2027.
Hmm.
Right now we're still kind of early in the year. I got room to fight a voluntary in September, uh, uh, August, September, October, and then possibly get one more by the end of the year. And then, yeah, hopefully it's a unification bout.
Yeah, me and BT, we've said our truths or what we feel are our truths and see as truth and actual objective truths about Zuffa. But how long until you have to join the Zuffa takeover?
Oh,
It seems like that might be an inevitability for all the top fighters if they have the kind of money from the Saudis and everything. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Have
Hey,
you thought about that at all?
no, not right now. Right now I'm focused on getting this next fight going. Zuffa is doing a great job of what they're doing. They're putting on some great cards. 50-50 seems like, and yeah, they're doing their thing. But right now we're focused on a unification bout or voluntary.
Gotcha, man. Hey, thanks guys for hopping on. BT, any last words for you as well for the boxing world?
my last words are that to anybody out there who is saying that Angelo's avoiding certain guys, all I'll say is this, all right? When the sport of boxing was in COVID and they needed young fighters to step up and give you guys good championship fights, Angelo Leo fought Stephen Fulton, put his own on the line, and they threw almost 2,000 punches, which I think is the third most punches ever thrown in a super bantamweight title fight in the history of boxing. Even in a loss, he still did something great in the sport. Um, Venado Lopez, really good, top longest reigning champion in the division. First defense was in a whole other country in Japan against Kameda, against former champion, and then he was ready. He gave Ra'eese Aleem the opportunity of a lifetime that all the other guys weren't giving him all these years, and Ra'eese just he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So he's never had a hard time stepping up to the plate or making
Yeah,
fights with. So my thing is if the rumors are true from Team Espinoza about wanting to fight, then it'd be in their best interest to go send a draft contract to find folks at Pro Box. Because at the end of the day, I'm not delusional. Like Angel's my friend, I'm not delusional. He is the A side. He's the guy with the backing, top rank. They want him to be the next, one of the next Mexican stars of the sport. So okay, well then the onus is on you to actually, show some urgency and go make the fight if that's what you say you want. So
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Angelo. Thanks, guys, for hopping on.
thank you,
thank you
Sean.
guys. Thank you, Sean.